No matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, the ones I love will always be the ones who pay.
You've been given a gift, Peter. With great power comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man 2. Such a powerful piece of cinema. It's the best Spidey film to date, and is one of the comic book movie greats. Personally, this is my favorite film of all time, because of how much heart it has. Sam Raimi is one of the few masterclass visual directors that has handled Spidey so well, due to his unique style that is not like any other. For example, the opening title sequence not only pumps you up for the movie, but it's also a nice callback to the Richard Donner Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. Raimi brings back Danny Elfman for the score for Spider-Man 2, and Elfman creates the definitive theme for Spider-Man, because it evokes the essence that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. Spider-Man 2's title sequence, with paintings drawn by Alex Ross, has the important moments of Spider-Man 1 that help refresh your memory and helps you understand where the characters are instead of having a ton of exposition. The key here is that Raimi most often shows and does not overly explain. So, why do I love Spider-Man 2? Well, I'll just have my friend J.K. Simmons give you a hint.
He stole my suit! He's a menace to the entire city! I want that wall-crawling arachnid prosecuted! I want him strung up by his web! I want Spider-Man!
Spider-Man 2 is one of the masterclass action movies from 2004, but it's also a compelling character drama as well, because of the inner conflict Peter Parker is going through. Spider-Man is negatively affecting Peter Parker's life. It costs him his pizza job, he becomes behind in his rent, his failing Dr. Connors class, his relationships between Harry and Mary Jane are in shambles. Furthermore, Aunt May is a constant reminder of Uncle Ben's death, and the guilt that Peter struggles with is arguably the most compelling thing in the film. Spider-Man 2 sets up the struggles of Peter Parker beautifully, and they all build up to this moment. Spider-Man No More is my favorite sequence out of all the Spider-Man trilogy. The combination of the lighting, effects, Elfman's somber responsibility theme conveys a man giving up, about someone making the wrong choice, but you understand why Peter makes this choice. We're only human and we often make the wrong choices, which is what makes Tobey's version of Peter Parker relatable. This bleak, depressing moment transitions into a promising tomorrow. Yes, the raindrops keep falling scene just works so well. Peter's finally taking control of his own life.
And when the borderline is tau equals 0, the eigenvalues are someone, please.
0.23 electron volts.
This sequence is really unique. There really isn't anything like it. Come on. Point one comic book movie who has this type of style to it. Sam Raimi, I don't think you're watching, but you did a great job. And we'd expect things could possibly get better. However, what I like about this sequence, despite things seemingly turning around for Peter, not being Spider-Man, it actually only makes it worse, emphasizing that Spider-Man is a part of Peter Parker's life, and how people need Spider-Man. Peter saves a girl from a burning building without his powers, but he later finds out that one person did not make it out, realizing that he could have saved everyone if he were still Spider-Man. Now, there are quite a number of side characters that either affect Peter's life positively or negatively in some way. For instance, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson serves as a foil to Spider-Man, yet as a supporting role to Peter Parker. Spider-Man is necessary for Jameson to sell papers, and Peter Parker is the only way for him to get those important photos. Without the Daily Bugle job, Peter Parker would probably be homeless.
Spider-Man won't let me take any more pictures. You've turned the whole city against him.
A fact I'm very proud of. Now,
Jameson's moments on screen are definitely a welcome return, and he even has some depth to him when Spider-Man gives up and he realizes that Spider-Man is actually a hero and that he was wrong.
Are you serious? Spider-Man was a hero. I just couldn't see it. He was a thief! A criminal!
Betty Brant, played by Elizabeth Banks, is flirtatious with Peter and provides levity to Peter's inner turmoil on how he cannot balance his superhero life and his regular one. These are great little breaks for Peter when he's feeling down in the dumps.
Chin up, okay?
Joe Robbie Robinson, played by Bill Nunn, serves as a supporting role to Spider-Man, constantly butting heads with Jameson on how Spider-Man is a hero. His character is given more to do, considering the scene where it suggests he knows Peter is Spider-Man.
I heard Spider-Man was there.
Where were you? Photographing squirrels?
Sam Raimi does a fantastic job of blending humor with Peter Parker's struggles. Dr. Connors tries to get through to Peter about finishing his paper and how planning is not enough. This relates back to the theme of responsibility and how Peter Parker is being irresponsible with his grades.
I'm planning to write it on Dr. Otto Octavius.
Planning is not a major at this university. Octavius is a friend of mine. You better do your research, Parker. Get it done, or I'm failing you.
Dr. Otto Octavius, played by the wonderful Alfred Molina, portrays a more compelling side of Doc Ock compared to the egotistical comic book counterpart. Now he does retain some of his egotistical characteristics from the comics, considering his experiment in this film.
Certainly know the consequences of the slightest miscalculation.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to question you.
Rosie, our new friend thinks I'm gonna blow up the city.
It will stabilize! It's under control!
But he is actually the mirror to what Peter Parker could be if he used his scientific intelligence to his full potential.
Go on.
An exponential increase in energy output.
Doc Ock serves as Peter's mentor and gives him important life lessons for the future.
Keep something as complicated as love stored up inside. It can make you sick.
I do like the psychological aspect of Spider-Man losing his powers. Yes, it does not make scientific sense, but so does a spider bite granting Peter Parker powers. At some point, you have to suspend your disbelief. Furthermore, this trilogy is a fantasy. The science is not 100% realistic. Doc Ock thinks his fusion reactor will surely work, yet it results in the loss of his wife and his reputation. This is an example of his more egotistical characteristics portrayed in the film. Although it's not super over the top, it's actually portrayed in the film a lot more subtly. I also find it fitting on how Peter Parker must reteach the same advice Doc Ock taught him, on how intelligence is a gift, and it has to be used for the good of mankind.
You once spoke to me about intelligence. That it was a gift to be used for the good of mankind.
A privilege.
Octavius is reluctant on giving up on his dreams, but Peter smartly replies that sometimes to do the thing that's right, we have to give up the thing that we want the most.
These things have turned you into something you're not. Don't listen to them.
It was my dream.
Sometimes, to do what's right, we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most. Even our dreams.
You're right.
I do prefer Doc Ock's character arc over Norman Osborn because instead of attempting to kill Spider-Man, he makes the choice to sacrifice himself and his dreams when he realizes that his scientific creation is far too dangerous. It is in this moment Otto Octavius is redeemed. One of the main criticisms of Spider-Man 2 is either Mary Jane is too harsh on Peter or her character is just terrible in general. Well, I completely disagree because of Spider-Man 1's ending. Remember, Peter rejected her, so she has every right to be upset at him. Mary Jane does grow as a character from the first movie. She achieves her dream, proving herself to her father by becoming a credible actress. I love how the film does not outright say this either.
After all these years, he's nothing to me but an empty seat.
People often say that Mary Jane is useless in fights. However, her getting knocked to the side like this actually helps out Spider-Man because it gives him enough time to recuperate and counterattack. Furthermore, it shows that the same tactics will not work on Doc Ock twice. The ending of Spider-Man 2 is very empowering. Yes, she does leave John at the altar, which is messed up, but it serves as a way to raise the stakes for Peter Parker because he could very well lose Mary Jane. I love the way Sam Raimi shoots this scene. Furthermore, her wanting to take on the responsibility with Peter speaks volumes for her character.
I know you think we can't be together. But can't you respect me enough to let me make my own decision? I know there'll be risks, but I want to face them with you.
Sam Raimi cleverly utilizes the psychological loss of Spider-Man's powers to his advantage. He creates tension in these fight sequences because Peter's starting to lose his powers and you're sort of wondering, oh, how is he going to get himself out of this situation? Well, Spider-Man's quick thinking allows him to utilize his environment to his advantage. This way, he's able to break free from Doc Ock's arms. I find it clever how Sam Raimi utilizes Spider-Man's jokes in this movie. He does it in a way where Spider-Man never comes off as a person who doesn't care about people he's saving. His quips come at appropriate times and they're quite memorable.
Here's your change!
You're getting on my nerves.
I have a knack for that.
Not anymore.
Harry Osborn's further descent into jealousy and moments of alcoholism is riveting to watch. One complaint I hear a lot is about Peter. He should just explain to Harry that his father was the Green Goblin. However, the problem with that argument is Norman's last words.
Peter, don't tell Harry.
Peter Parker is faced with a moral dilemma. Harry wants to know the identity of Spider-Man. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, so revealing the identity of Spider-Man would cost Peter Parker his friendship with Harry.
I find him with my father's body and you defend him because he's your bread and butter.
Take it easy.
Hey, don't push me. Don't act like you're my friend. You stole MJ from me. You stole my father's love. And you let him die because you didn't turn in the freak.
However, if Peter Parker were to reveal the identity of Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin, it would tarnish the memory of Harry's father. Harry loves his father, and it can only worsen Harry's clearly unstable and jealous personality.
Pete. No. It can't be.
Elfman brings back the Goblin theme to convey Harry's descent into villainy. Sam Raimi uses unique camera angles to convey Harry's psychological deterioration. Some people may argue that Harry shouldn't be able to see Norman because he hasn't taken the Goblin serum yet.
Son.
However, Harry has been clearly drinking,
I'm here.
so it's possible he could hallucinate.
You're weak. You are always weak. You'll always be weak until you take control. Now you know the truth about Peter. Be strong, Harry. Avenge me. Avenge me! No!
Harry Osborn is set up perfectly in Spider-Man 2 to become the main villain in Spider-Man 3. The build-up is just great in this movie. Each scene on it builds and builds, and you finally get the sense that Harry is gonna finally take vengeance on Peter for his father's death. Aunt May is given a lot more character in Spider-Man 2, and Sam Raimi blends all the action and lighthearted humor with the heart-wrenching mature themes of the guilt Peter is constantly affected by. Rosemary Harris delivers a fantastic performance as Aunt May. She conveys that she's dealing with the loss of her husband to Peter, and this material really tugs at your heart.
Can you believe that it's 2 years next month since he was taken? I think to myself at times, were I to face the one responsible for what happened,
The scene where Peter abandons Aunt May to change into Spider-Man is actually addressed throughout the film. Each scene with Aunt May is important and builds on one another.
Peter! Don't leave me!
Oh, that boy of yours is a real hero.
Aunt May is even thrown into an action sequence later in the movie, and she actually kicks some butt against Doc Ock.
What do you mean, we?
Oh.
She eventually figures out he's Spider-Man through Peter's Uncle Ben confession and her inspirational speech to Peter, basically convincing him to return as Spider-Man. This scene is probably the most groundbreaking for Peter Parker as a character, because he admits to Aunt May that he is the one who is responsible for Uncle Ben's death. And I just love Maguire's acting in this. He goes into detail of what he did, what happened, and how Uncle Ben died. And the look on Aunt May is just priceless. It really tugs at your heart. I cry when I watch this. This is some really powerful, moving acting from these two actors, and I think they pulled it off perfectly.
I went someplace else. Someplace where I thought I could win some money. To buy a car, because I wanted to impress Mary Jane. It happened so fast. I won the money and the guy wouldn't pay me. Then he got robbed. The thief was running towards me. I could have stopped him, but I wanted revenge. So I let him go. I let him get away. He wanted a car. He tried to take Uncle Ben's. Uncle Ben said no. And then he shot him. Uncle Ben was killed that night for being the only one who did the right thing. I held his hand when he died.
I find it fitting how Aunt May instills back in Peter a sense of confidence that people need Spider-Man no matter what others say, suggesting she knows his secret. She guides Peter back in the right direction, like Uncle Ben would have wanted.
even though sometimes we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most. Even our dreams.
Peter regains his focus, allowing his powers to return, and leads up to a great empowering moment, which then follows one of the greatest action sequences of all time. This fight is superb. It's the best in the trilogy, and one of the main reasons why is the music and the fact that it has constant changing dynamics that keep you enthralled just to watch what happens. The fight starts on the clock tower, and then Doc Ock fights Spidey, and then they fall on the train, and then you start to see that, oh, people are on the train, and this makes you realize, like, oh, the stakes are automatically raised now, and you feel the tension within the fight. It's also important to note that Danny Elfman did not score this sequence in the movie. It was actually Christopher Young who went on to score the music for Spider-Man 3, and his music for this sequence is tremendously good. It sounds like a locomotive, and it really fits this action sequence. It's tense, and you really feel what these characters are going through. This is a train sequence, and they used all parts of the environment to their advantage to film it, to make the action constantly changing. He just dodges a train, and then he's like, oh, where's Doc Ock now? But he gets knocked off to the streets, and you're like, whoa, how is he gonna get out of this now? Well, Spidey just keeps coming back. He webs two sides of some buildings, and he starts swinging, chasing the train again. And it's really this empowering moment where the music, man, it's just great. And if you have the 2.1 edition of Spider-Man 2, it makes this train sequence even better. This moment where Doc Ock's slamming Spidey on all sides of the train, and then he gets him on this side. It really increases the tension of the fight. As the audience, you're thinking, wow, how's Spider-Man gonna get out of this one? Because Doc Ock looks like he's probably gonna get Spider-Man killed here. And Spider-Man does. He eventually gets hit by an oncoming train. And then he just comes back for more. It's like no matter how much punishment you give him, he's gonna keep coming back. And just when you think this sequence can't possibly get any better, it does.
You have a train to catch.
This moment here, it gives me goosebumps every time. The shot of his costume ripping. This is also edited really well. The way it's cutting back and forth between the back of the train, Toby's face, him holding the train, and to the front of like what possibly could happen if he doesn't stop it in time. It really gives you the sense of how heavy this train is. And the people, like, they're scared. They're like, oh, how are we gonna do this? Or how's Spider-Man gonna save us? And he does. He uses all of his strength. He makes a ultimate sacrifice, really. And they put their hands over the symbol. I think it symbolizes them coming together, but also showing their appreciation for Spider-Man. They pick him up over their shoulders and appreciate him as a hero. I've heard some complaints that this is Christ symbolism. First of all, it's not. If you want Christ symbolism, go watch Man of Steel. Second of all, in the commentary, Sam Raimi, he doesn't mention any sort of Christ symbolism at all. That's not what he intended, and what supports this is the dialogue. The people on the train are just amazed that this normal kid from Queens just saved their lives.
He's just a kid. No older than my son.
After the train sequence in this fight, Mary Jane finally does figure out Peter is Spider-Man. It's just such this relief and has this reassuring feeling to it that makes you realize like, oh, Peter was actually genuine the whole time. It's just that he's been busy as Spider-Man. I've always felt that this was a clever little nod to Spider-Man the Final Chapter, where Spider-Man is pinned under a metal apparatus and he has to use all of his strength to lift it up. But in the movie, he has to lift it up for Mary Jane. Despite everything, Peter Parker still tries to reject Mary Jane this time, just like in the first movie. And he actually has this very sad thing to say.
I will always be Spider-Man. You and I can never be.
Despite that, Mary Jane chooses to be with Peter. She wants to take on the responsibility with him.
Go get him, Tiger.
The ending of Spider-Man 2 finally brings Mary Jane and Peter Parker together. And we also get a great final swing sequence with Spider-Man. We get Spider-Man swinging off into the distance in the sunset. And with the Elfman score soaring there, you get the feeling of optimism. But there's also ambiguity to the scene with how Mary Jane is not sure if she can handle the responsibility as well. And I always liked that little touch. Overall, this film holds up amazingly well. The The score, the music, the action, the drama, the characters. Boy, it's the best one. I'm always gonna love this one. Anyways, join me next time when I take a look at Spider-Man 3. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Thank you all for watching.